Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the B3 Beginners Business Bootcamp. I'm Rob Thompson,
And I'm Sarah Townsend.
and we're back. In this module, we want to talk about business names. This might be the most critical aspect of your business is in the name. Uh, any thoughts on that, Sarah?
Yeah, so two things is I would be really clear about what your name is going to be, and it needs to target both what you're trying to accomplish, but also resonate with your target audience. So something like Phoenix Fitness, I actually named my business after my daughter, and I didn't even think about it, but Phoenix Fitness is a firefighter fitness program. And so people thought it had to do with rising from the ashes, but I actually didn't even think about that. It would just kind of like happen to play out. So when I put Phoenix Fitness up, if you didn't know who I was and that I was a firefighter, you wouldn't know that it was firefighter fitness. And I regretted that afterwards. So I added on all my social media. If you click and you search me on social media, it now says Phoenix Fitness, firefighter fitness, and CPAT training, because I had to explain to people what that was. So if you're going to choose something, make sure it's really clear. I know, Rob,
That's
you had a story about that too, right?
Sure do. So I offer consulting services, right? My company is named S2 Technical, which also is named after my daughters Samantha and Sloan. And if you hear the name S2 Technical, you think, hey, he does something with tech, right? But it doesn't necessarily follow that consulting is a thing. And I created a company called Adjacent Possible Labs with the intent of doing tech consulting, and had a consultant recently tell me that that is not a good name because it doesn't. Adjacent Possible Labs doesn't tell you anything about consulting services. So very critical. I agree that it be in your name what you're trying to do. Uh, so
So
once
learn
you
from our mistakes.
right, learn from our mistakes. And also we have some modules later where we'll talk about creator statements, but it help, you want to know what you're trying to do and who you're trying to appeal to. Once you've zeroed in on that, the next step is to do some research on that name and see if it's taken. Sarah, you mentioned in a previous conversation dog paws. So if you're going to do a dog walking business, right, and maybe you want to call it dog paws, one of the first steps is to jump on Google and actually check that name out. Let's see, does dog paws? So say we're going to do dog paws dog walking, right? So let's actually Google that and check it and see, does that pop up? So here we go. Big paws dog walking is the first hit. So if you were to do that, you might run into a conflict with that company, a conflict in the association of the name as well.
Yep.
Uh, so
You
there's
could
that.
be sending them business is really what that comes down to. Sometimes people will hear about you and it's through a friend and they're like, oh, I know how to do with dogs and paws or whatever. And they look it up and that's the first people they see and they think that's you and you just sent business. So make sure it's
Yeah,
really unique to you.
agreed. And this one happens to actually be in Colorado Springs too. So if you're going to start a dog walking business in Colorado Springs, you'd be in direct conflict with that business from a business perspective and possibly from a legal perspective too. So you check there. You mentioned previously Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. You want to check those platforms as well to make sure that name is available.
Yes. Yeah. The first thing I would do is check for domains and
So
make sure that those are available
so
because
that
yeah.
good.
So check domains first, because if you start making social media and you build all these platforms and you look for a domain name and that's not available, you just wasted your time. So you need to go to domains first, make sure that the domain or the website you're going to be using and the name you're going to be using for your LLC, that's available to you. Once you find out that that is available, so, we just put in the dog paws walking, this will show you what is available. And it's the 1 cent for the 3-year term. So that's great.
That would be so. Yep. So that would be a good domain name that's available. However, I would weigh that against it. If you're choosing that name, weigh that against the potential conflict with that one. So maybe that one might not be the best one. But if that's what you're sold on and you want to use it, then yes, great. There's the domain name is available. The next step you'd want to do is checking the Sec State website for the state that you want to incorporate in. So if you're going to incorporate in Colorado, here's Colorado Secretary of State's website. So we're going to go and we're going to literally, we'll drop this link in the supporting material, but I would literally go here and I would type dog paws dog walking, and we can search, and it tells us, okay, so there is a Snowy Paws Dog Walking LLC that is actually delinquent. In 2015, there was in 2015. It looks like it went delinquent in 2020, so it's actually available.
Yeah.
Yeah, or there's no conflict, I would say, instead of it's actually available. It is available, and there's no conflict with that particular name. So that's how you would register with the sex state, which is one of the first steps in locking down that business name. So you search the social media, the domain name is available, the name is available through the state, and then you could literally go to the same website and file a business document, and you're going to file to create a new record, and then based on the type of corporation you've chosen, which we'll get into in the later modules, is how you file that trade name. So if I were going to file an LLC in that trade name, I'd click on LLC, step through this process, and I believe it's about $25 at the time it's recording to reserve that domain name. It might be 50, reserve that name, but that's how you lock in with the state that particular name.
Yep, exactly. So really short summary is make sure that you get a domain name that works, that you have social media that meets up with that domain name, and that you reserve all that social media names, even if you're not planning on using it right away. I would suggest that you have an Instagram, a TikTok, a Facebook at least. Those are the three most powerful platforms, at least for my business. And Rob helps me obviously as my virtual assistant, and those do really well. And then I would do the sex state. So the Secretary of State, Colorado Secretary of State stuff.
Sounds good to me.
All right. Check out our links
Okay.
below.
Yes, ma'am. Talk to you soon.